G'day and welcome to the Separation Guides video for reaching a do-it-yourself agreement. I'm Jack Whelan. I'm a nationally accredited mediator. I'm a family dispute resolution practitioner as authorised by the Commonwealth Attorney General's Department, and I'm also a barrister. Thank you for taking the time to use the Separation Guide website and also answering the Q&A. The site exists for the right reasons. It's a network that's been set up to help people through this maze, through this fog that is separating and divorcing. It's a tough time, and we're simply trying to make that very difficult time just a bit easier, and really trying to make people a little bit more hopeful about their futures. It's just so important, and it's something that I hear a lot of. It's hard to have hope when you're going through something this difficult, but you can find a way through. And there is a way to do this well, and it really depends on your own circumstances and your own needs. So it might sound a bit counterintuitive, but I'm positive about this because I know it can be done well, as long as you choose the right process for you and you have the right information that you need as well. That's what this is about. So in this series of videos, there are some very basic concepts which I speak to and which I want you to try and understand. So what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about how to generate an agreement, a separation agreement, the substance of it, and then actually how to draft a separation agreement as well. And we'll do it in a way which is step by step and video by video. And we'll be interacting along these videos with the Separation Guides checklists and tools, and also podcasts and things which are on the site as well. Now, there will be some elements of those old cooking shows, which you'll be familiar with. Here is a parenting plan I prepared earlier, and here's a property plan I prepared earlier. You'll know the drill. We've all seen those shows, but they are helpful by being able to take you through examples of agreements which have been done really well, and then you can learn those lessons and replicate those good experiences. These videos aren't about anything other than common sense. It's plain speak and common sense. It's not legal advice because I don't know your precise circumstances, but it is guidance, and it's guidance to help you and your partner get a fair outcome without breaking the bank in the process. So, watch the videos in order because this really is a deliberate step-by-step process through the separation maze. Based on your answers to the Separation Guide Q&A on the Separation Guide website, you are now thinking about reaching a do-it-yourself agreement. It's really important that you've answered those questions through the Q&A because it means that many of the eligibility issues have already been asked by the guide and also answered by you. Things like, is there any domestic violence which you need information in relation to? In those circumstances, a do-it-yourself agreement is plainly not acceptable. But there are some circumstances where a DIY agreement is the right process. So what we're going to work through now are the pros and cons of that do-it-yourself agreement process. The first pro is, and it's obvious, is that a do-it-yourself agreement takes less time, less stress, and costs less money, but there's a big proviso on that. The proviso is that it's done right, because the con is that if it is not done correctly, then it could end up costing you more money, more stress, and more time. Contemplate, for example, an agreement which is unfair and orders which are written incorrectly, being knocked over in the court because the judge has a view that they're unfair and not sustainable. That would put you back to square one. So yes, if you can do it right, it's a good thing to do. Big question mark about whether or not it can be done right. It will depend on your circumstances and the advice which you take. Pro number 2, the conversation can be direct between the two people with the most at stake. That's you and your soon-to-be separated partner without the complexity of third parties. Because the con is that these conversations can be very, very difficult ones. And sometimes you actually need another person to support you. And that support can be with advice, it can be emotional support, it can be by asking you the tough questions which need to be asked. So third parties can help you check your own thinking, your own bias, mistakes which you may be made. And some third parties who've been through the process already can have good lessons for you. So yes, there's an advantage in a direct association, but again, the con is that there's also risk in that association if it's conducted in a way where there is a power imbalance. The third pro is that you may get what you think and feel is a fair outcome. That's a nice feeling, and that's a nice thing. And it's obviously very, very important for you to have that feeling. And part of what we're trying to do here at the Separation Guide is give people that feeling that they've actually done something which is right and proper for them. The con is that there can be a big difference between what you feel is fair and what the law says is fair. And that feeling, that good feeling, will not last long if you find out down the track that you've actually got a really dud deal. The next pro is that you have the opportunity with another person to directly make design decisions about your future. The con is this: what if there's some dishonesty? What if the circumstances are such that money is being hidden? And what if there is a power imbalance? So the design which you're actually engaged in ends up being a dishonest design. And so you end up, again, having an agreement which doesn't work for you in the long term, even though it made you feel good in the short term. The next pro is that you can save a lot of time and stress associated with a contested court hearing. And who wants to go to court? It's a difficult place, and the result can often be quite uncertain, and it can cost a lot of money to get that uncertain result. But the con is that what if there is a power imbalance or a knowledge imbalance such that one person in the negotiations will be at a disadvantage, and as a consequence, the agreement which is reached will also be disadvantageous to one party. The point of the courtroom is to shine a light on the truth in a way that is fair for all parties. So whilst court should be a last resort, it shouldn't be ruled out. So, how to navigate these pros and cons and make the best choice. How do you do that? Well, I think there are 6 boxes to tick. I think there are 6 questions to ask, and here they are. Question number 1. Do you have good visibility on where all of the assets are and what their value is? Question number 2. Do you have good visibility on where all of the debts are and what their value is? Question number 3. Is there a fair power balance in the relationship at the time of separation? Question number 4. Do you know what fairness means in family law so you can get a fair deal, or at least are you willing and able to find out? Question number 5. Do both of you actually want each other to have the best chance at a fresh start with enough money to make that happen? And question number 6, the personal question. Are you yourself okay? What do I mean by that? I'm asking, are you thinking straight? Are you feeling strong enough to do this? Are you feeling like you have the capability you need to push through? If the answer to these questions is yes, then you're in that cohort of people who probably can work together to get a fair separation agreement. And in that case, go for it. But if the answer to any of these questions is no, then the risk goes up. The risk profile on a do-it-yourself separation goes up. If one answer is no, you have some risk. But if the answers to all questions are no, then this process is a red light risk for you, and you need a different process. So perhaps the thing to do as you are finding the best way forward is to keep asking these 6 questions along the way. Every now and again, just stop and ask these questions. And if the answers continue to be yes, then you're in good shape to keep going. And if the answers start becoming increasingly no, then it's probably better to select a different process. Think about it very, very carefully. Things change in separations. People are rarely consistent. In fact, most people are quite inconsistent because it is such a hard time, and we all react to pressure in different ways. Think on these questions and think hard on these pros and cons.